Welcome to another edition of the Backyard Professor videos. I'm Kerry Shorts, the Backyard Professor. I'm out here above Kep's Crossing here in Idaho, in the Idaho wilderness, I'll put it that way, out in my backyard. And this area has a beautiful lava rock formation, very intriguing landscapes. I love making videos up here, so I'm discussing this argument by critics that there's nothing in favor of the Book of Mormon archaeologically, historically, theologically, linguistically, in any manner whatsoever. So it's intriguing to me that Margaret Barker, who is a Methodist preacher in the UK, she has been exploring the Book of Mormon as well as the books of Enoch. She's a Book of Enoch scholar. Her books, The Great High Priest, the Older Testament, the Revelation of Jesus Christ, they're outstanding biblical scholarship books. But she's gotten to know the LDS scholars and students. I know her. I've talked to her on the email several times. I've made a DVD of her materials on the atonement as the rite of healing that is extremely interesting. Margaret Barker participated in a congress, the Bicentennial Conference at the Library of Congress in 2006. The proceedings are called The Worlds of Joseph Smith. I snatched this up the minute I saw the copy available. She discusses the Book of Mormon in light of pre-exilic Israelite religion. She has some very interesting observations to make about the Book of Mormon, about archaeology, about how the Bible, the archaeology does not fit what we term the popular version of the Bible, and so on and so forth. She says, archaeology has changed a lot of things, both about the Bible and the Book of Mormon, interestingly enough. It was, to use her words, if I can find them real quick, she asks the question, are the revelations to Joseph Smith consistent with the situation in Jerusalem about 600 BC? That's the question. Do the revelations of Joseph Smith fit in that context? The reign of King Zedekiah, who is mentioned at the beginning of the first book of Nephi, which opens with the first year of the reign of Zedekiah. That's 1 Nephi 1:4. Zedekiah was installed as king in Jerusalem in 597 BC. She says it was a world that the first temple period was a world of revelation, angels, heavenly ascensions, so on and so forth. This fits the first chapter of Nephi beautifully, where Lehi is taken up in his vision and sees the numberless concourses of angels. He sees that council of the gods. Margaret Barker contends that is genuine, ancient, pre-exilic religious religion. She says, prophets reveal the past as well as the future. Joseph Smith fits in that scene very beautifully with his massive amounts of revelations in the Pearl of Great Price, in the Book of Mormon, in the Doctrine and Covenants, so on and so forth. He teaches us both the past and the future. She says that on page 72. On page 73, she mentions the archaeology does not give support to the biblical understanding of the ancient world like we used to think it does. It's a different animal. This is not to impugn the Bible. This is to get a grip on what is going on. The world that the Book of Mormon originated out of was a world where mankind had this doctrine of being able to be deified. She mentions that on page 74 and 75. Through Isaiah, Jeremiah, the very similar stories of the various prophets who visited this council of the gods, she says, this is the world that we've missed in the Bible. It's been rewritten. She notes on the Book of Mormon, when she gets to Lehi and Nephi's vision of the Tree of Life, she says this was a remarkable situation. In her analysis of the ancient symbolisms of the ancient Israelite religion, she said she found only one text, the Book of Enoch, a text discovered in Egypt in 1945, described the tree as beautiful, fiery, and with the fruit like white grapes. This is one of the Nag Hammadi texts, not the Book of Enoch. She says, I do not know of any other source that describes the fruit as white grapes. Imagine my surprise when I read the account of Lehi's vision of the tree, whose white fruit made one happy, and the interpretation that the virgin in Nazareth was the mother of the Son of God after the manner of the flesh. That's 1 Nephi 11, 14 through 23. This is the heavenly mother, represented by the tree of life, and then Mary and her son on earth. This revelation to Joseph Smith was the ancient wisdom symbolism intact, almost certainly as it was known in 600 BC. She finds the authentic elements in this ancient record called the Book of Mormon. She finds ancient pre-exilic Israelite religion here. Archaeologically, it fits the bill of 600 BC in the ancient Near East. She has that on page 76. She goes through the different ideas on the temple, the principles of Jehovah and Jesus as understood in the early First Temple period, the idea of the yearning of the temple. She says on page 80, she says, the Jehovah of the Old Testament is the Christ of the Book of Mormon. I want to emphasize this. Page 80, the Jehovah of the Old Testament is the Christ of the Book of Mormon. Mosiah 3:8 and 3 Nephi 15:5. She says the Book of Mormon Jesus is the biblical Jehovah. This is remarkable. With her insights, with her vast amounts of scholarship and understanding, she recognizes the genuine elements in the Book of Mormon. I think this, above anything any of us biased LDS scholars and students can say, because we're accused of being wannabe scholars, we're accused of our bias, we're paid apologists, so on and so forth. We have an agenda. But Margaret Barker is a Methodist preacher. Now, has she stopped enjoying the church? No, of course not. She doesn't have to. She has recognized, however, the genuine aspects in the Book of Mormon. She's honest enough to admit that and say, this is really quite a remarkable thing. It's quite fun to study. It's got substance to it. The argument that the Book of Mormon has no archaeological proof, no historical verification, no linguistic, cultural, political, or legal clout, that argument is simply false.